Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Hopefully you're enjoying this beautiful AI generated music. I have no idea how the volume is, so let me know if the volume is generally balanced between me and the AI music. So Eyal here. For those who've seen my previous streams, I am the co-founder of Modalics, the plugins company. I'm also a C++ programmer and a musician and blah blah blah. And today and in the previous and next streams as well, I am working on a new music composition software. This is an interesting piece of software because it's meant for algorithmic composition. So it's meant for the user to kind of show or add instructions to how to generate the music and then generate the music. So it's a very unique approach to doing things that is similar a little bit to a functional programming language. This is a program that would work probably as a standalone program, but also as an audio plugin, and maybe it would have some other applications as well. I'm broadcasting this on a bunch of different networks. So this would be on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X, Twitter. Feel free to let me know in the comments what's up. You will see that if you write a comment, I'm gonna post it on screen so people from the other networks can see it as well. So feel free to ask me questions about what I'm doing. Let me know what's up. And we should get right down to it. So just to give a recap for those watching the previous streams. So as I said, I'm working on this music composition software, which is an algorithmic software. And the idea is that this is right now the prototype that I have. This is not what this software eventually is going to look, but this is where I am right now. And the idea is that this is what I call a device or a function, right? And these are things, there are expressions in the function. Like you see, this is a very simple expression that's a literal. It returns an int. This is an expression that's literal music. It returns music. Right here I have like 4 notes in like a piano roll setting. Here I have a transpose effect. So transpose effect can have inputs from the music and from the integer, and it can provide a transposed music, right? And I can also change it and have some other number in there. It's going to be higher. But I can also start to chaining those together. So for example, I can say, okay, well, I have the transposed music, but let's have an append thing that will append the original music and the transposed music, right? So first would be the original, then the transposed. Let's have another append, right? That would do the first one and the second one. Oop, I crashed because I clicked something that was not supposed to work. But the idea is that let's do this again, right? This is a problem of doing live coding. Things are gonna crash. But the idea, so let's go again. I do this append thing. I have the original music and the transposed music. Then I have another append, right? That would have the first append and the original music, right? And I have another append that would have, the previous one and the one before that, right? And that's how you can start creating a lot of different pieces of music from the original. Or maybe I can reverse it, right? Let's reverse this previous one, right? And let's append the reversed one and the append before it, and create like a mirror image, right? So from this one piece of music, right? This is what this here is like the original piece of music. Imagine this is like a sequence of MIDI notes. I created a long form MIDI result, and this is really just the first things that are done so far. This isn't even playing audio yet, but it will. So so this is what I'm working on, and I'm gonna go building this in parts. While I'm doing this, Or Lubyaneker, my partner in Modalics, is working on design. He might jump up on the stream, or maybe we'll just look at his designs if he's doing something else. So he's designing the actual UI. I'm just doing some mock-up UI with this little thing. And this is where I am. As I said, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. There's going to be a lot of code, and there's going to be a lot of building up different features. Yeah. So let me know how you're feeling about everything, and let's go back to the code. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if the AI music in the background is correctly mixed and it's not too bad. I hope. I'm not allowed to play. I don't think I can even play my own music in here. I think I'm gonna get taken down. So I have to play this AI music. Yeah. All right. Let's just make sure everything is working as it should. How's everyone doing today? Okay, so let's go back to the code. Let's see what we have here. By the way, this is a Mac question. I don't know if anyone sees this is using a Mac. I don't know if I can. How can I make an app keep spawning on the second monitor, which is the one I'm using to share my screen? Probably there's a way to set it as a default, right? I have no idea how to do that. Now it kind of pops up on the other monitor, and I have to drag it back into the stream monitor. Very weird. Okay, let's see what we got here. So the first thing I want to start with a bug fix. There's a weird bug that happened yesterday. I want to show it to you. It's super weird. I need to investigate to see what this is. So here I can add inputs, right? These are the inputs to the function. All of this is now one function. I'm probably doing this stream. I will add the option to have multiple functions, but now there's just one. You see, I added new inputs. Input A, B, C. These are just generic names. And I can change the name. Like, let's change the name of this to, external or something. Some name of an input. And it sounds good, but then I want to try to resize things. So let's delete things. Deleting is okay. Let's add new inputs. Ooh. You can see the external input is gone. Interesting. Let's see why that happened. I want to investigate that. So let's go over my code. My code starts with basically the UI. Let's go to the UI part. The UI of the function input. Yeah, here I have somewhere here it should be a plus button, right? The add button. This is what it does. And it's got a function where it calls create. Interesting. Let's see what this create thing does. Create creates this, and then connects, which I guess makes sense, right? So I need to connect the input that was created. Oh, that's interesting. Do I disconnect when I disconnect something? Probably not. That's interesting. I probably need to disconnect as well, like, because I also, just like I have create, I have erase. When I erase, do I disconnect? Okay, I do disconnect. Okay, on the other side, that makes sense. So let's see again what I do on the creation. So connections, into name, input, okay. I guess I do this because it's a map of sorts. I guess. Is this correct to hold this as a map? I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure that I'm doing this correctly. And then I need to find out why this create thing is somehow overriding something. Let's see why. So this eventually goes to this template function, create pointer ID. Yeah, it looks like eventually this just pushes something into a vector. Sounds correct. Sounds like this is the right way to do this. But I'm guessing at some point, I guess at some point I'm corrupting something in the data. and it probably has something to do with the custom name. Like something with my custom name is doing something weird. What am I looking at when I'm showing this this in the UI? Let's have a look. When I look at the UI function inputs, I'm looking at connections, right? I'm looping over the connections. What are these connections? These connections have an expression map that's where this is like the owner, the thing that created the nodes or these expressions. And there's another, this map vector, that's like a map where I'm storing pointers, basically. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to investigate this bug where something in my UI, when I'm editing something through the UI, I don't know if it's just through the UI, but something is doing weird stuff. So Nico5 says, object-oriented programming is such an adventure because you may be creating new objects rather than changing existing ones. At least that's the kind of error I make too often. Right, that's true. I mean, the problem is really in the problem domain, I think, in this case. Like, because for example, I don't think it's necessarily object-oriented. I want to show this question. You know, this is a question that comes up a lot when you have stateful programs. There's something always about that there's some connection between the objects, and I think that's something, you know, that's you know, in these day and age now is talked about regarding to object-oriented. Even though there isn't, I mean, even though there is an element here that's object-oriented, like there's the expressions that are what do you call? There's like these, you know, parent base class, right? That where there's an interface and different derived class. Most of the structure it's kind of object oriented, but not really. I mean, it's not. It's kind of like a hybrid because a lot of the not everything in the programming model here is like these, you know, these objects that talk among themselves through interfaces. Like this is not really everything that's going on. Like there's some, you know, there's a lot of like procedural stuff and stuff like that. I think when you talk about things that have states, that anything that basically that isn't a pure function, right? Or there's a state, there's always the question about how do you look at the different states that could happen, because in this case, like I think the problem with this case is that the state itself is very complicated, because the state of the programming language is of the one that I'm creating, right? Not the one that I'm programming in. The state of the programming language has all these scoped connections between things. And I think that the problem domain here is more of like expressing a change in a way that would actually work. Even if I let's say I wrote this thing as a functional program. Let's say I implemented this not in stateful C++, but in a pure function C++. The problem is I have this one change operation that changes things in a bunch of different places. Like you wire something in, and then it's wired into a few other things. It doesn't matter what the memory model is. The question is, so your inputs aren't objects. I mean, objects doesn't mean that it's object-oriented, right? Let's talk about this, right? This is something people don't really get about. I'm not an expert in functional programming, but I'm learning actually a lot about this now, because this language, as far as the user is concerned, not my C++ code, but what the user is writing, is going to be more functional. I mean, having objects does not mean that it's object-oriented. Just to give you an idea, if I have a struct that says, you know, whatever, struct object, I'm calling this an object, right? And this has an int x, int y, I don't know, string, std string, you know, text, whatever. I have this thing. Now I have a function that says, you know, object, you know, get object, and this would take object as the input, and it would take the input.x and add 5 to it, right? And take the text, input.text, and add, hello to this, and then it return input, right? This is a pure functional, a pure function. There's no state here, even though I'm passing this thing called an object. This is pure. There's no statefulness here. This is as pure as it gets, as far as I understand, in terms of like this can be used as something in functional programming, even though there is a struct, right? And this is, by the way, a common pattern in functional programming, where sometimes in functional programming, because even in a functional program, and this is a common topic, even in a functional program, you need eventually to have a side effect too. You don't just need to modify the input of the function, as you want to print it on screen, right? So then there's all this the idea that you first modify the state, then you do the side effects, right? There's some divide there in how you modify the state and create the side effect. I think that the object part of object-oriented is not this. It's not the fact that it's a struct. The object part is when people do something, the object-oriented, when people say, well, it's not going to be an object. It's going to be, a base class, right, that has some virtual destructor. And this would be, inheriting from base. And there might be some virtual function here that says something like, modify state, right? Virtual function. And then this would do something like, modify state inside of the function. Right? This would do something like x plus whatever I did here. Right? This would do this. This would do. It's not going to touch input. It's going to make x. It's just going to modify the object in place, right? And then if I do something, if I change the function to work like this, like void, void modify base input, and then I would do input dot modify state, right? This would be very object oriented, right? Because this means that, first of all, I'm operating through the base class. There's like an interface here, and also this is not. If I call this function 5 times, I'll get different results because each input is changing itself. There's some state in here, but the object itself, the struct itself, does not know if it's working in object-oriented style or a functional style or something like that. I personally think that in pure functions, it's very difficult to do a lot of things. I think that what I'm doing now, if I had to express it in a functional language, it would be almost impossible in my opinion because of the UI. Because the UI has to hold these connections and the UI has to respond to changes in the user. I think it would be possible to express it in non-object oriented, but it would be like, I think it would not be simple. I think it would be very, like the way I would kind of bring down the state down would be very, very hard to reason about when you think about all these complicated UI actions like reorder and move and stuff like that, and connect and disconnect and explain the graphs of connections. I think that a lot of these would be hard to express in functional, but they're also hard to express in object oriented. So I don't know. It's just a complicated piece of program. Anyway. Sorry about the rant. Sorry about the functional programming rant. Functional programming now gets to there's all these opinions now, I think, about what object-oriented is, because some people saw videos about things, but I don't think that's like most of the code is not object-oriented. My UI is object-oriented because the way Juice just does stuff is object-oriented, and it's very difficult to do UI without object-oriented because you have to hold state for efficient drawing. So it's very difficult to work without a lot of caching and state. It's very difficult to express. I've dealt with something like I am GUI lately, like it's a immediate mode GUI, and it's it's a very interesting model where your entire UI gets repainted in 60 frames per second. I think that, and there's no state. I think it's very, very difficult to have efficient drawing in this model. And it's also very difficult to talk about continuous operations. Like you kind of have to model these operations outside of the UI. When you think of like complicated drag operations between one widget to another, or all these like things that you do in a real UI are difficult to do in a UI that isn't stateful. Okay, so the one is, I'm too old. That I grew up with procedural programming, so that was more my frame of reference. Yeah, you know, but even in procedural programming, you're building, like, let's say you write in C or something, you're building structs, right? That's something that you have to do to have any kind of, you know, meaningful information. You build structs of data, and then you kind of pass these structs around into the functions. And in procedural programming, you can also modify states, right? Not just like, for example, if you do, you know, let's rewrite this function that I did before, right? Let's say I have a very, let's say there's no base class. Let's say I don't have any C++. I'm literally in C, or whatever, it's the C++ version of C. Right? And in C, I could do something like void modify object, right? I wouldn't, you know, in C++, like I do this, right? I have a member function that says void modify, right? And I can change a state. That's C++. I don't think you can do it in C, but in C++, but in C, sorry, let's say I was in C-like language where this mechanism does not exist, I would do something like void modify object, and I would take like the object's, you know, reference is a C++ thing, so I would take it by pointer, object, right? And here I would do like objects X, right? Right, and this function is not pure. It modifies the object and it sorry, the Y, whatever. I would do something like this. This is already not pure. This is basically exactly the same as a stateful object. Like this is just a different syntax to putting the, you know, having an object that has a function. So so I don't know if I would call each of those object oriented. I think both of these are more like a different syntax to do stateful programming, versus the previous option that I've shown, which was pure. You know, when I took an object and returned another object. To make it interesting, this language that we're working on now, what's the user is going to be seeing, the user is actually going to work in a totally functional space. So the user only deals with stateless functions, right? There's no, you'll see, my function does not have the concept of storing a variable and then changing it over time. We don't have that. We also don't have multiple outputs, like we don't have out variables. There's just a single return statement. So that model, I think, is very, very helpful for different kinds of programming, like more kind of high-level programming, I would say. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for the range. Let's see, where was I with the bug, right? Because I was actually working on a bug. The bug was something weird was happening when I was modifying this vector. I think. I think what happened was I was working on this vector of these names, and it looks good when I'm changing something here, but if I change the name to one of these, I add, now I don't know if you saw it, but I clicked add and nothing was seen, and I think that's because the first one I clicked probably erased it. So I think my operation itself is just incorrect. So I think what happened is when I add something to the vector, let's see. So when I add something to the vector, look at this. Or is here, or my partner in Modalics, Olubianica, is watching the stream. So I'm glad you I'm glad you're enjoying my my rants. I'll probably be going into these rants once in a while. These are very interesting topics, to be honest, because I'm always thinking, about how can I make my program less stateful. I think if I can make it less stateful and still maintain the same level of performance and the same level of, let's call it, clarity is the word, clarity of the operations, then it's, I would prefer to do the stateless version. I think that, if I can, stateless operations are very easy to reason about. The problem with a lot of these, with the, from a C++ point of view, by the way, this is something that people, I don't know why they don't talk about this, right? Do I still have this dummy program? When you write a stateless program, it's almost guaranteed you will have really horrible performance. Depends on what it is you're doing, but that's the general vibe. And let me explain why. It's because, remember before we did this thing called struct objects, right? And there was a function that says objects, whatever, modify or something, and it takes another object. This thing depends on how big the object is. You have to do, if object like an n, is just something with an int x and an int y, then the cost of this means nothing, right? This is probably very efficient. But if this would have a vector of int, right, or something, or anything that could be like really large, this operation, just the fact that the function is here, it means that I'm going to be allocating memory coming in and allocating memory coming out and doing a bunch of copy operations just to get the purity. Now you can save some of these operations. You can probably do this, right? You can say, okay, well, const reference, and this would save the operations going in, but it would not save it going out. There's just no way. Like even if I'm just doing this, return object, my function does nothing. This would allocate memory in a new vector and copy everything from this from this input vector into this. Like, this is a very, very inefficient operation, and definitely an operation that will not work in real-time audio, right? So this is what I'm saying is that this function, even though it looks good, and I love this for high-level stuff, and I love it for anything that's like a small struct going in and out. Like, this works really well, but for anything beyond that, this is just not going to work. Like, this will not scale. So I think that's why, when people look at a lot of C++ code, they look at something like the one before, like they look at something like this, right? You take an in object and you modify it in place, right? Instead of returning it, you just say, well, object.vec. I don't know, in place back or something, or maybe remove or clear, right? Or you do all these vector operations and you do them in place, and then if the vector had correctly handled its memory reserve, for example, this is going to be a safe operation. So I think that this, not to mention there's no copies in here, right? There's no, so I think that a lot of times when people talk about objects or stuff like that, this is now, if you do functional programming, this is very much frowned upon. Because in functional programming, this is not allowed. This is not pure. But I think this is the only way to do efficient operation in C++, especially in audio and all that. So there's a question here. I find it interesting that the input names are an array of names rather than each name being a property of the input object. Yeah, I think that's how it works. I think there's if you look at my real code in a second, I think that there's I think that there's an input that's a name. A name is one of the properties of the input. Basically, you think of an input in my code, in my program. An input is basically like a how do you call this? An input of the function is basically like an expression that's in the function. Like, let's say that, like, let's imagine that I'm going to be, I know that my language is not C++, but let's imagine it was C++. Then if there's a function that says void func or whatever. Let's say do int func, int x, int y, right? And I do something like return x times y, right? Or whatever, some operation. The way it would be implemented when I'm building the syntax tree is that this is an expression that the multiply can read from. So the multiply function, which is like, you don't see the multiply function, right? But by doing this, you basically called it, and it's going to read the x from here and read the y from here. And this is a struct that has the expression, right? The expression in this case would just give you an x. It's very simple. Expression that will give you an int, and it has the name. The name is x, and the name helps. This is a lookup, right? This, when a compiler compiles it, it does a lookup from here to here. It says, because if I read the z, it's going to say I cannot find that name, right? So there's some way to do this lookup. Okay, there's a really good comments here. I want to address all of them. First of all, so no libraries. Okay, so this is a really good comment. So the comment is no libraries. Qt, for example, less time spent building UI and more time working with the audio features, I think. Yeah, I'm using Juice for the UI. Like I'm not building my UI from scratch. Like there's I was just showing some console app to show something in C++, but I'll switch back to my project and you'll see that we're using the Modalics UI libraries that are built basically on top of Juice. So I'm not doing like the low level element of building UI. Really, most of what I'm doing is building the model for the music and the audio part and everything. Nico says, by the way, I'm not questioning but learning, since I really haven't programmed professionally for a very long time. No, these are things that we're thinking about. These are not like questions like that we see as inappropriate. These are questions that we are supposed to be bringing up all the time. There's something that's going to come up very often. Like very often we're going to say, someone else looks at your code and like, hey, why are you doing this? Why is this like this? And sometimes, I'll think about it and I'm like, wait, this is wrong. I should be doing this the way this guy says, because sometimes the way these programs evolve is there's an iterative process, right? I'm starting with one thing, I'm building on top of it, but then, when I'm looking at the state of the program now, maybe I'm like, oh wait, this is completely wrong. Okay, if the stream yesterday, I was completely refactoring something because I was doing all these hoops to do some connection between things, and then I had to spend like half a day to just remove everything because I realized I just created a bunch of state that was just meaningless, and I just straight out the door did something else. So Jatin says, it's possible to write functions that first way and be fast, real-time safe using something like a memory arena. Yes, that is true. And that is actually what my language is doing. Like the way my language is, by the way, I just want to say Jatin is one of the best programmers in the world, definitely in the audio field. You should check out Chow DSP. He has plugins, he has open source repos. It's really amazing stuff. Yeah, but definitely. So the way this language is implemented, and we might go over that, there is a memory allocator and all that stuff to actually allow you to do stuff like resize the vector in real time. But I would say I am paying a cost of a lot of operation, even though I'm not allocating memory, right? I managed to save so that in real time there will be no memory allocated. So when the language is evaluated, even if there's thousands of functions modifying big vectors, memory is okay. It's still way more operations than it is if I had parsed references. I made a design decision that says, well, I will allow the user to write stateless, and I will allow the user to do a bunch of excessive copies. There's a lot of excessive copies in this language because I wanted to maintain statelessness. Because I thought that the user, if I had statefulness, the user would have bugs to deal with, right? There's bugs to deal with the stateful function. You pass something into a function and you call it again, it behaves different, right? If you think of something like a filter, an audio filter, it has to be stateful, right? Or it has to get past the state, or something like that. and you have to deal with that state, right? As that when you write the code that deals with prev states or something that happened before, you have to be more careful, right? You have to make sure that you're providing a stream of information that works. So even though the memory arena stuff is extremely helpful, it's not necessarily a problem solver in terms of like code that scales to like low level code, but it is it is exactly what I decided to do here. I decided to let the user basically do an operation that creates an array of 5,000 notes from an array of one note. Like that's a possible operation in my language, but it's it's not without a cost. Like I'm not aware of a way to return an array of 500 from an array of 499 without a big copy, right? Because you can't move in a stateless. You can move out of the function, but you can't move all the input values and stuff like that, because some of them are have to be copied. Like let's imagine. Let me give you an idea, right? So let's imagine that I would have an object. I'm having some object that's called, data or something, and it's got a vector. And let's imagine that this is a fast vector, because this could be just something like a stud PMR vector, and with a memory allocator. Doesn't matter. Something fast. Let's say there's no memory problems with this vector, just for an imaginary purposes. Let's say that I have code where I have a function that says data modify data, that takes the data, right? Data input or something, and this thing returns whatever. This thing, let's say, adds something, input.fact.emplace back, like adds an element and return the data, right? So let's say I did this. Now, if I write this, I create data and I call something like data equals modify data, right? This is, I guess, legal in functional programming in a way, because this is, this function is completely pure. And let's imagine that the data structure was handled to make everything fast or memory allocation less. The problem is now the compiler can actually see this and compile this to be very fast, because there's only one way where this data comes in. And if I'm using a compiler like in C++, then I should be able to, or at least the compiler can at least make this fast. And this could even be a move, right? I can actually make the support move or something and do something like a stud move. Move this out of there to save another operation. Like there's a bunch of operations I can kind of do in this to make this work. However, the problem is this isn't really how this is going to be used. The way it might be used is that I would have some generic function that takes this, right? And then I would have something else that says, like I might have more than one piece of data. Like I might have data A, data B, and this would take data A, right? And maybe I would run it over data A again, and then I would kind of maybe create B with the data of A and all this stuff, and I still want to use A, right? I don't want to. I create B with the A, but I don't want to move this, because I want to keep using this. I want to, like, let's say I have a B is assigned to the data of A, but now I want to have another modify, right? So I can't just move this. I have to keep this data around, and I have to keep this data around. Like I can't just, unless I can optimize the specific use of this function, I can't really, even if I'm doing an optimization compiling step, I can't just assume that I can just toss the data and move pointers around. I have to make copies. Like the user just asked me, it says, create this, but then also work with this original. So a copy has to be made. This could just these three operations can be huge, even with the memory allocator. Like let's imagine that this has, this is copying images around. This is like an image filter. It copies images. It does some matrix operation. Each one of these copies can be tens of thousands of operations, right? And that's why when you talk about like all these functions that are meant to be reused, which is really what I guess functional programming is, it's very difficult to create an efficient performance model. What you could do, which helps, is you have this thing called an immutable data structure, where there's some pointer magic happening to make sure that when you copy, most of the time you would just copy a pointer, but those structures usually have a lot of trade-offs. Like usually most operations are cheap, but they have some operations that are expensive. Cache usage, like it reduces the cache usage because they're not just like plain data, they're more complicated vectors. So it's very, very difficult to reason about the performance model of this in a way that scales, I think. You can maybe reason about it with the context of a specific use case. Like you can say, well, I'm okay with all these copies. I just, memory is the expensive bit, and none of these vectors is going to be huge. It's going to be just, 10 items. So I don't care if I have 10 more copies, and maybe it's fine. Maybe it's going to work well. Okay, hopefully this rant made sense. I'm always happy to enter Jatin and whatever he's thinking about, because he's a brilliant person. So thank you. Back to topic, what I was saying that we worked on before. Thank you for the question, Jatin. I think this is an amazing topic of conversation, specifically about what I'm doing, because I'm writing in C++ in some stateful, procedural, object-oriented way, and I'm writing something that's functional. So it's almost like I'm kind of bouncing between these two worlds. It would be interesting to see. I think most of the more functional programming languages are usually implemented in a non-functional way as well. Like, because when you once you make when you think about something like, because a lot of where people use functional programming, I think they do it with a model underneath that does the real computations that's not functional. Like for example, if you're writing React, like you could write most of your UI in a relatively stateless way in like using these React function components or whatever they're called. But then you're not doing any rendering on the React. The UI, the actual UI is done by Chrome or by Safari or whatever the browser is, and not by your your UI code. Your UI code is just doing your own like user stuff and not any performance related things. So that improves the the chances that things are going to be fast. So the question is, have you heard of Rock or ROS? Rock? I think their compiler has some kind of optimization that could turn copies into moves when possible. Yeah, I haven't heard of Rock. So it's a Rock compiler. Is that a language or is that it's a language? Okay, yes. Okay, so it's a language. I'm just gonna put it on screen so we can all read about it. I haven't read about it before. A fast, friendly, functional language. Fast. Code is designed to be fast and run fast. It compiles to machine code or WebAssembly. Friendly. Functional. It's a small number of simple language primitives. It's a single paradigm functional language. Oh, this looks really awesome. Right? That's cool. Okay, it created, yeah, I see what it does. This is really cool. Let's see the web servers. Yeah, this is awesome. This looks very much like a lot of the functional parts of JavaScript. Right? I like it a lot. Yeah, those stuff are great. I think for user code, first of all, functional programming make a lot of sense. Like just like you see here, like I see they have this example with a web server, right? Handle request equals, and then you pass in, this is a function that takes a request and returns, right? This is very similar to the JavaScript syntax, right? With the arrow functions and all that. I like it a lot. And this is very similar to, I guess, what I'm doing here. I think when you're not thinking about these for a performance context, you can do a lot with the optimizer, right? That's something people, there's all these amazing projects now. There's like stuff like Mojo for Python. When you have a high-level language that is not general purpose, that cannot do everything, that can only do predefined things that you will define, you can actually compile it to really efficient code because there's no other ways to do these things that you're doing. So you can, I can even, for example, just to give you an idea, I can write a compiler for a functional language that would rewrite every function into a stateful function with pointers and reference and stuff, and the user will never know. The user can write stateless functions; they'll be super safe, and the compiler can do all this, mangling under the hood and rewrite the functions into like very efficient C code or something, or C++ code, and then recompile it using LLVM, right? So the real problem with doing this let's call it functional style from a performance standpoint is when you're trying to write it in like a system language like Rust or something, because Rust cannot assume that you've asked for a copy and you mean a reference. I think it's not allowed by the language. I think the language gave you these semantics, Rust or C++ or C, because you want to be like you want to ask the compiler to do something and you cannot let it change it. I think LLVM can reduce copies if it can see the entire call stack, but not if it sees like some of the functions in isolation. So that's where I think the programming model becomes interesting. That's also why I went for a functional style for our music language, because I think that the user in this case does not care about the performance, right? So the user does not need to do these micro optimizations to make things fast. The user can just assume that I made things fast for them, which is not always true, but maybe it's true. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your questions, everyone. By the way, I'm really happy that people are engaging and hopefully enjoying these streams. Hopefully, you can always ask me and let me know what you're thinking about what I'm doing. But I will try to be somewhat more productive today. I would try to think of a way to solve this bug. So that means I need to understand what the hell is it done. What I did see that I did is that when I call this function create, I noticed that in some cases it didn't really change. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. Yes, I see what I did there. Okay, I understand what happened there. Because this one is a map. The problem is the map side of this. I'm probably not sure if I really want this to still be a map, I think the reason why I made this a map historically is because I wanted a way so that if the user connected these different functions and and changed the signature of the function, which is possible. Like you can change the signature whenever you want. Then I could help the user kind of reconnect these things because I'm using names and not necessarily but you know what? I might not need that anymore. Do I still need that? You know what? I might not need it anymore. I can just remove this. So I think this is I guess the source of the bug. Yeah. What am I returning here? I'm returning the actual thing. Okay, that's the problem. You see, this map. Yeah. Let's start getting rid of this map. Let's just make this just plain old vector. Just a vector. Vector. Remove this stuff. And I think this would hopefully greatly simplify what is it? It's not a map type. It's just yeah. So let's start with that, and then when I'm creating it, I can just do something like connections, create input, right? I think this would work. And same here, right? I think the actual expression here underneath also has, yeah. Is this correct? Is this correct? Let me think. This might be okay. I need to think about this more clearly, but I'm going to start with the vectors because it's just going to simplify all the code. Then maybe later I'll think of a ways to make this a map again. This would really simplify a lot of my code probably, because like now this connect, it would be like inputs dot erase if, or I think it would have to be something like weird that I'm using this. I need to make this a little bit better. But let's. I'm gonna do something pretty raw here just to make this work. So let's do something like I still need this exist function that takes the inputs and the, what's the actual type here? Oh, you know what? I don't even need this function. I can literally just do remove all matches off the pointer to the input. That's really what I need to do. Yeah, I think it's okay. And then when I connect it, I can just do inputs add if not there. So nice that I have my own version of the vector with these functions. It's so annoying to use the standard library. So just do that. There you go. Oh, now this would greatly if map is blah. Input evaluate scope. By the way, this scope here is interesting because the scope is the reason why the scope exists is actually a lot of the reasons for memory allocators and stuff. It gets interesting when the actual functions do things. They can use these allocators to do dynamic memory allocation without touching the actual system memory. So that's great. Okay, where were we? Need to fix a bunch of stuff to do with the. There we go. Probably forgot something else. So this will just be a connection. I guess. Let's see if something's building here. Hopefully you're okay with the connections remove. So I think I call this one remove all matches. Oh no, that's not good. I should remove it by name. Why am I removing it by name? I can just remove what's the target here. Is this a vector of expression pointer? Yeah, so I can just remove all matches of this target. Much better. Okay, the problem is now with the function call. So function call is another object that deals with the calls to the exact function. So 40 input, yeah, I think it's okay. Should probably make this input thing also work with the pointer ID, the one I created in the previous stream, so that these connections can still be maintained. Okay. Oh, now it's not a map anymore. That's fine. This is a serialized function that helps kind of connect this vector. There's probably a couple of those around as well. So the reason why, by the way, they have to specify two text things here is for compatibility with XML. Like this is like instructions on how to serialize, and that means that the child name is going to be connections, and if it's XML, each child needs a name, so it has to be connection. In JSON, this will basically get ignored. So it's just to be compatible with this other backend that sometimes you have to use. Okay, so I compiled it. Now let's see if the bug still happens. Now I'm going to rename something. Let's rename this, the middle one, into expr plus. There we go. Bug is fixed. So I switched to a vector. I removed all this stupid map operations, and now I am golden. All right. Okay. Progress. Come on. Let's hear it for progress. I have so much progress to do. Oh my god. Okay, let's do just like outline. Made inputs to be vectors instead of maps. Yeah, let's do that. Or as like me getting excited, we're both trying to make this thing better, trying to make it good. I am excited with this. I feel like I solved like the silliest bug, but also I'm feeling better. Something feels better today. Okay, that's good. Let's see what else. Any questions before I move on to the next thing? All right. I'll just clean up a few things here. Remove functions to the CPP file just to feel like I'm an organized programmer. Make sure that the header has somewhat limited amount of interface stuff that I can, I guess, easier reason about. Not here, not in the UI. I'm not gonna clean the UI; it's a mess. But I can definitely clean up the function code and the implementation code, I guess. I think I needed to implement the serialize for the function graph, which I didn't. But it's fine. I don't need the serialization just yet. Expressions, and then it's interesting. There's all these concepts I started with in this language that now feel like maybe some of them are kind of need to remove. Like there's all, because initially I had all these I had options of stateful stuff like setting variables and stuff like that. Now slowly I'm getting rid of them in favor of something that's purely functional. because I think from the user's perspective, it might be cleaner. I don't know. Okay, let's see what I'm doing. Next up, I want to start building the fact that you could do multiple devices, right? Multiple functions here on the screen. So currently, yeah, so I think this a little bit needs to be a UI thing, but there's probably some mechanism that's happening, because I think, yeah. Let's start with the let's see the model I created for this UI app, right? The model itself, something like UI state, or I think I'm just literally build it on the app itself. There you go. There you go. This is like that's the state of this app. And currently, I start with the graph that I hand built, like a function graph that I hand built and hard coded, just to get so that I'll have something on screen. But now I need to start by building 2 of those, or whatever, more. Yeah, so I think what I need to do is I need a visualizer for this thing called expressions. Does that make sense? Yeah, like I basically need to be able to create singular expressions on the root scope or something, or on some higher scope. And then that larger scope would have yeah, I think that's correct. I think I need to somehow express the large scope and create things in it. I think that makes sense. So I'm going to start by writing a UI editor for this that would take this expressions, an expression map. So I think this is the thing that needs to be edited right now. I think this would make sense. So let's write something like expression. What to call expression map or something. We have a nice namespace here. Let's bring that. And this would be called something like expression map display. Let's include this somewhere. Let's include this in my lang graph or something, so that the compiler will know that it's there. How are everyone feeling about this AI music, by the way? I'm still conflicted by the fact that this is a thing. Okay, expression display. And this should take something like a this be expression map. No, map. Okay. I will do a very, very naive implementation of this first, of the UI aspect of this first. I probably need to have this. For now, I will probably do, or let's try a different genre. Okay, I'm gonna say the name of genres, and or whatever else. You'll tell me what to do. Here are the names of the genres that I can do: chill, down tempo, chill hop, which is what we're hearing now, by the way, hip hop, lo-fi, lounge, R&B, minimal house, future pop, love, that's a genre, love, classical, epic, cinematic, world music, corporate, so funny, indie rock, acoustic, jazz, ambient, atmosphere, nature sounds, and rain. What do you think I should put on? Acoustic. Okay, let's try acoustic. Okay, this is acoustic. I have no idea what it's going to do. How would you call this genre of music? It's like Celtic music or something, right? It's like Irish bar music. I'm not against it. I don't hate it. I don't hate Irish bar music. I mean, maybe I don't spend enough time in Irish bars, but it sounds to me like if I did, I would want to listen to this kind of music. Okay. All right. Next up. I need to start. I want to. So I would start this expression riff thing is basically just a. I call this thing. Sorry. I have this thing called expression container. You know what? This is really wanting to show the container, not the map. So it's like an expression container. And the container is just like a vector of those things, a vector of those expressions. So this will be like basically a way to indicate the list of user devices. And I will just do something naive, which would not really scale to a real app, which is, I'll have a component. So I need something that also shows a single one, but I think I kind of already have that. Like the single one is what this thing called, like a lang graph, right? Lang graph. That's interesting. Wait, let's see. What was the one thing that I used to express the full graph? Yeah, because you see this, I have this like stuff like the block detail box. Yeah, I think lang graph, right, is meant to be, or sorry, lane graph. Lane graph, I know this is called lane graph. That's the thing that should represent one thing. I think so. Right? This thing takes a graph of a single function. Yeah, that's true. So I think, so confused. So it's called lang graph in the file, lang graph in this. Mess. Okay. So I think I need to basically include this, not include it from here. Basically, I should just include this and create like a higher level of multiples of these. So I should probably include this from the main app component. Yeah, and what this should be doing is I'm getting the map, and then I should be I'll just create a vector of these. So I have this thing in our library called component list of lang graph, lane graph, right? Oh my god, names are so bad here. Lane graph. Let's call it, I gotta change this. I can't stick with this lane graph thing. Makes no sense. This is more like a function display, right? Or function definition. I don't know what to call it, function def display, because there's also a function call display. Or should be somewhere. So function def display. This is functions. And below this, takes for this, and then so I'll do two things. One is that I'm going to be listening to the not listener, but like a size listener, which would listen to map. Call this a map. This is not a map in any sort of dimension, but whatever. Map, and we'd call an update function. So whenever the size changes, I'm going to rebuild these components here with a nice update callback. Oh, what do you do? Take this map. What have I missed? Oh, wait. Map. No, it's called listener. I'm out of here. Takes map. This. Not this, right? And I need to close it. Wait, what am I? I'm starting to initialize it. Map, comma. Well, we'll allow the update function. And this also needs to be closed, right? Come on. Why is it driving my what have I missed here? Map. Here is the function. This is not needed. Here you go. Okay, just the extra semicolon. Okay, here we go. So whenever the size changes, this is going to call this update function, and all it would do is it would, for now, we'll just clear the function display, and now it's going to go over expression maps will go over the map, and if the map do I have a get as here, or is this just okay? So yeah, so there's no get as because it's a shared pointer. Usually I wrap stuff and then I add this function, but if yeah, so I wanted if O2 func equals to expression, dynamic cast of expression, dynamic cast of let me switch to the next song up in this sequence. Okay, dynamic cast of if DSP function expressions function graph, something like that, with expression.get. It's quite a long expression, but okay. If it's this, then I can do functions create visible with func. Okay, I think that's good. And then I'm just going to call resize to adjust the size, because the size could be changing. And then what we'll do here is functions. CLAN is going crazy. Come on. Give me a complete. Come on. This is going to tell me if it's an error? Yeah, okay. CLAN is still playing nice today. And create visible, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I might in the future I might need to extend it because there might be more things in the scope. But I think beyond that, I'll also need another thing very important called a plus button. Structs plus button. Plus let's call it add func button. Widget. Yes. And this needs to take the same thing, the container. And it's going to have a text button. It says plus, and then it has an also like an on-click function. An on-click would do basically map dot create. I think it's like I have a template to create, right? Yeah, create. And this is going to be create. Create with the type of DSP expressions. Type graph music. Like our functions have DSP music sequence. Type graph and this. Right? This opens up, closes here, and so you need something from me. What do you need from me when I did create? Oh, okay. So I think for this I do need the higher level expression map. Okay, so yeah, this is not going to be good enough. I do need to pass the entire expression map. I'll probably pass it up as well. So map. It's not called create. I think I have some. Might have some cyclical includes here. Why is that? Oh, it's not expression map, it's DSP expression map. Okay. This is fine. Okay, so now that I'm finished with this, now, and I'll also take the expression map here. Expression map here. I'll go with the map dot. God damn it, something's going crazy with the completion of this file. What is that? It's map dot expression map. I don't know, how do you call it? Map dot map. Great. Oh, but actually, I'm probably now exposing this somehow, right? And if I'm not, I can just do that. So let's do that. This is because this thing is just really a wrap around this. So I can just do something like operator star return an expression container. Expression container. And just for fun, this is the same with the const, so that both of them will be useful. to get over the map. That's good. And now that I'm finished, I'm going to add. Okay, so this is not good enough. So I'm going to make this a component list of components. So all kinds of components can go in here. And so I'm going to create derived visible of function input. So first of all, what function input? This is called a lane. How do I call this thing? Just change it. Function def display is the regular one, but also I want to add the plus button right at the end. So the plus button will be called create derived visible of add function button. Okay. I think this looks good. And then all I have to do is go to my main component, and instead of showing this here it is. To run this directly, I'm just going to be showing this state that state that what's graph state that how do I this graph? Okay, so root scope dot get root scope. That's kind of weird. Why did I do that? I'll do that for now. I'll improve this. Say that's root scope dot get root scope dot expression. This is kind of horrible, but whatever. I'll try with that. I'll start with that. Okay. Let's see if I missed something. Oh, okay. Jeez, that's fine. No member named size in expression. Oh, okay, so it's not expression map, it's expressions. Or map. Or just this. How are you doing, everyone? For those joining, I'm working on this music composition software in C++. I think it's something we're working on for Modalics. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, this is something I didn't think about. This is a chance to do this correctly. Okay, I did not do this correctly so far. Okay. Yeah, I think I did not think about this particular use case. I think I need to do this better. So here's what happened. I rewrote this data structure the other day or yesterday, whatever that was, and I think I missed a step. I'm trying to know if I did this to work correctly. So what I do is I had this thing called here it is, expression container, and now it's a container of a shared pointer of an expression because this is the holder. And then what I did was when I created this thing called create. Yeah. Okay. So I think here there's I did a thing called create pointer ID. I probably need to separate these two. That's interesting. Yes. Okay, so I need to do something better. The problem with the way this works, like okay, I understand the errors of my ways here. I probably can fix it without too much hassle. The problem is I probably need to change this this data structure a little bit because the thing about this is this thing called the pointer ID. This function, I think I was assuming too much with this function, create pointer ID. The idea is that the idea is that you can create this thing that's an owner, but then you get this basically a weak pointer to it, but also the reference of the thing that created it, which is important for serialization and other stuff down the road. But I think the thing I didn't think about is what happens when you want to grab a pointer to something that's already created. Like I only thought so far on creating the thing on the spot, but I need to do this better. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So let's make this work. So instead of doing a vector of expression, I think just like I have this pointer ID, I should have I need something that with the object here itself here can create pointers to itself, which should be trivial, I guess. But it would be nice if it would be accessed through the container itself. Just make it easy to work with, because this container is used a lot. So let's think. So I think instead of doing a shared pointer of expression, I think just like I had pointer ID, I would have I might have something like an owner ID, right? Owner, basically, this is what it is. And this might actually really simplify my code, you know? No, it won't really simplify my code, but it's needed. So I need something like a template, type in T. It's going to be called owner, but an owner is really going to be a shared pointer of a T object, and it's really going to be a wrapper around this shared pointer. However, there's going to be some extra methods to this. So the idea is that, and by the way, to make it fun, I think that I can. Yeah, because I can probably initialize it in multiple ways. I can probably do something like, if it's an owner of T, I can just do a template, type in owner, which would take a stood shared pointer, some other shared pointer of other, it would just initialize like this. Then let's add something like an operator arrow, which would return a T star. Let's have a get function, which would be nice to get. Return object get. Let's do the same thing with the const. Here. And oh, this is interesting. How am I going to make sure that I'm storing the map? Because I need basically to store the thing that this was created with. How am I going to do this? Let's think. This gets confusing. Like, how do I pass that type? Basically, it's gonna like a type or something. Let me think about this. Because the idea is that I need to be able to create a pointer T, which is a something that holds the container for future use when it gets pointed, or if that means anything. How's everyone doing, by the way? Just to give you again context, I'm doing this, working on this music composition software, implemented a little bit like a programming language that I'm working on for Modalics. I'm not thinking about some data structure problem. Maybe there's another way to do what I'm doing now, but because it would be nice if I could just how am I going to store the map in this? Like, how am I going to pass the type of the map? Or because I mean the type is just a vector really, but doing well. Just get home from a gig and chilling now. This is how normal people relax, right? Watching coding streams. Yes, I think this is the way to relax. You know what? I actually do that too. I watch a coding stream. Is that weird? Is it weird that I like to watch people code or talk about code? Like I like to hear lectures about code and rants about code and other people's, controversial opinions about code. So Noam asks, question, is this project open source? No, it is not open source. I am not sure it will be open source. There's other things that I'm working on on the stream that are open source, like my driver's library that is open source. Other stuff are open source, but no, I don't think we'll make this open source. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not. It would probably be a full-on product, so I don't know if we're gonna make the whole thing open source. Also, I gotta be honest. That's I guess more of a let's call it a spiritual thing. Like, I love the idea of making libraries open source. Like, and I have a few. Like, you should check my GitHub. There's a few libraries that I'm doing CMake stuff and data structure stuff, and now the new music driver stuff. But I don't love the idea of making a product open source. Maybe if it's like a test product, like maybe, usually you build a library, you build some kind of proof of concepts of the library like that's fine, but I don't know if it makes sense to make a product open source, because a product usually has a lot of things that touch users and security and copy protection, if that's the thing, and there's a lot of stuff that might not make sense as open source, but the core libraries can definitely be open source. I can think of Chrome. So Chromium is open source, but to my knowledge, Chrome is not open source. And I'm sure there's a little bits there that should be very intentionally hidden, not just in Chrome, but in other pieces of software, right? Like usually you make some separation of what's open. So I don't know if something this involved is going to be open source, but maybe libraries from this would eventually become open source. Yes, hopefully this answers the question. Okay, what else? I want to thank you everyone for people for joining on different networks. See, most people are commenting on YouTube, but we're also on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if you're watching this somewhere else, feel free to say hi. I will try to pass your comments into the other networks. Yeah, it'd be nice to consider something like that post-release. Yeah, that's that would be something to look at. Like, what would be a way to open source this, or libraries from this in a way that makes sense to people. Like, I definitely know there's a lot of libraries in the Modalics code base that I'm using now that people would want to use. But however, some of the data structure I'm using, like you see, this is my vector here, that is open source, or stuff like map vector, or all of my let's call them cleaner or more efficient data structures that I sometimes build. Those are on my GitHub, and you can take a look at these. They're not like super audio specific. Mostly, they're just a vector with, in this case, a vector with helper functions, or in some cases, they're data structured with slight optimizations to them. Right? There's stuff like a static vector implemented, like a vector implemented in an array. Or map vector, right? A map implemented as a vector. So there's these little things that would make sense, I think, for specific usage. So you can definitely look them up. I think I don't know if you see that on my YouTube, but on my Twitch, there should be a link to my GitHub. Alamir Music. Okay. I'm trying to rethink this problem that I'm having, because the problem that I'm running into is that I'm not 100% convinced I need this owner object. The idea is that maybe this needs to be here. This gets confusing. This would kind of require me to assume quite a lot. Oh, hey Noam. Thank you for checking this out on Twitch as well. I'm new to Twitch, so it's fun to see people going there too. Yeah, so the thing I'm trying to think about is there's an object here. Really, let's go back. There's an object here that eventually generates this thing called a pointer ID. And pointer ID is an object that wraps a weak pointer. I don't know if people know what a weak pointer is. I might explain that. A weak pointer is basically a something that is kind of communicates with a shared pointer, but does not have ownership. So if I had a shared pointer somewhere, then shared pointer itself would keep the object alive, but the weak pointer would not keep the object alive. Like, the object can die, but this is more powerful than a regular pointer because it knows that it's pointing to that one shared pointer, so it can say, so I can ask it something like, is the shared pointer still alive? And it would tell me yes or no. So it knows what's going on with let's call it the original ownership structure. But this reps not just the weak pointer, but also the container where this was created. And this is for stuff like serialization. But the problem I'm facing here is that I was trying to find a convenient way to supply this kind of an object after I already created the original shared pointer. That's how I thought that maybe I would create like an owner object that would have this information. The problem I couldn't think about is how do I pass the type of container. Like here I templated the container, which is okay. I guess I can do that too. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can. I guess I can do that, right? Let's do it. Let's do it just for the sake of the intellectual thing. Maybe it's gonna just work. So this is gonna be a type name container. Type container. And probably the default container is just gonna be a vector of head here. Shared vec. The default is just going to be a vector of shared pointer because, oh no, but it's not true. It's going to be so weird. The type is actually struct owner. So it's probably like it's a vector of owner of t. As weird as that sounds. let's try it. Let's see if my thought experiment here is going to work. So the default container is going to be a shared vec. And you know what? I can even start by not templating this. Honestly, I can probably just wait a bit until I need to template this. So to have this other template. So just for fun, I could just say that this thing has a shared vec pointer, right? This is going to be like a container. Can I do that? Oh, shared vec, not shared vec. Yeah, shared vec of owner. Yeah, let's just do using container equals shared vec of owner, I guess, right? Do I need shared vec or T? I don't know. Owner. Okay, shared vec of owner. And then I would probably later maybe I'll template this so I can support maps and other types of things. So container. And now it's kind of crucial that I would always pass the container when I'm doing things here. So if I'm creating this, I need to pass the object and the container. I need to use and then yeah, so that's one way, or I can just paste specify reference. Store it as a pointer though. And then I can do, what else do I need to do with this? Yeah, and I think that the reason that I made this is there anything else? I guess it's okay. I can probably also do something like a right, because copy and move should be okay, but also maybe I need to then I need to set this to change this after created. If it's so, it's gonna be. I need to wait so that after because the way you do this, I create this. Yeah, you know what? I guess I can do this like this. Let's see if this is just going to be enough for the simple use case that I have now. I do want to do something like, get container. Yes, another use for container in software development. Yeah, that word is used very often. I think people sometimes think about something like a Docker container, right? Like which is also something I'm using a lot, like a Docker container to run your app in it, or run something like that, or develop your app in it. Yeah, but I think this. It's not my. I would say that it's not my own word. Like it's a C++ thing. Like if I'm going to search for C++ containers, C++ containers, this is a word in C++, and it's usually talked about stuff like array, vector, deck, list, stack, right? Unordered, like all of these are, at least in the C++ lingo, people call them containers as well. So I'm using this for the same reason, right? It's the thing that holds. It's basically the vector or array or something. So it's not my own verbiage. Funny word. Okay, David says, web developer here. If I had every time I use container jar This container chart work can be broke. This is great. Yes. Oh my god, yes. Container is one of those words, right? Yeah, but I also love, Docker containers. Docker is awesome. I'm a DevOps engineer. I'd be rich. Yes, it's we're programmers. We're not good at words. I wish we could come up with a catchy word whenever we actually do something different. But no, we keep using the same words. I was just talking to my friend Asaf yesterday, and he kept saying like how everyone today used the word copilot. Like there's a copilot for everything. People are not very imaginative about product names. Okay, so I just want to do something like return container. Because I probably just want to put this as private or something. So, not that it matters so much. I don't know. Let's do it like this before I'll abstract this even further. Let's start with a simple thing. And what I need to do, the idea is that I want to be able to create a pointer ID, just like I could create it from directly like this from another container. I could be able to just create a pointer ID from a const owner of t. Which is honestly probably what I need, but maybe this would simplify these other constructors. And this would just do object owner.object and container. The container is owner.container. Or maybe it's the other way around, first container, then the object. Yeah, so that's how these two will kind of work together. Yes, there's another web DevOps here, Makar. That's awesome. People who do DevOps, I think it's very, very underrated. Let's call it need. Sometimes people don't know they need DevOps. I've seen people, work so hard because there isn't a DevOps person to have a clean pipeline and clean deployment structure and even I wish we had a better CI/CD for us. We have some scripts to do things like creating installers and run unit tests and all that, but I think that side of what we do is not amazing. I wish we could have at one point developed time to make this more scaled with better response to commits and stuff like that. The better deployment structure and everything. So yeah, I'm so happy people who are more expert than me on this are doing this. So also stay in touch in case we do need to hire somebody like you at some point, because we do have a need for this. Okay, where were we? I was just working on this data structure thing, and the idea was that let's go to the side of the expression map. Oh, so now when I'm creating, so I have this thing called create pointer ID. Yeah, created that, make shared, blah blah, and now I just need to oh, I can probably also, yeah, because I need to set the make shared. This will give me the shared pointer, but now I need to create with created and the container, and I can just now return to owner. I think I should be able to just return the owner. I think this should compile, because now I can express this pointer ID in terms of the owner, and I think that means that I should be able to just trivially create this pointer ID whenever I need it. because I can just pass the owner. So let's have a look if this is correct. And if that works, I can probably remove all these. Okay, no matching constructor. So boy, I probably screwed up something. Let's see. Cons owner of T. I think that's correct, right? And I think this should be an owner of T. Let's see exactly what's wrong here. No matching initialization. No. Why couldn't get a Oh, because I think this point ready is actually for the base class, and what I need, actually gonna get. I need to add something that takes. It's not an owner T. It's probably should just be a T. No. It should just be like another completely separate type. It should be something like a like a because the no, that's not true. The owner, yeah, because this is to be the base class. I think that's the problem. There's some base class, derived class things that could happen here. Maybe a pointer ID can take an A. Yeah, because okay, so here's the problem. This is not an owner of T. This is an owner of something else. But maybe that's fine. Like it could be an owner of A. And the types should be compatible. Let's see if that works. Still no matching constructor. Why is that? This is my crate, right? I think this should be a problem. And this should give me I believe, an owner of T, of the base class. Right? Like it doesn't matter, it's owner of whatever. I think in this case it should be base class. Let's read this error message better. No matching constructor for pointer ID. Okay. It's not an owner? Oh. Wait, let's go to the maybe I'm using the wrong data structure. Let's go to the actual use of this. Okay, so it's not yet. This should be a vector. This basically should be something like a serializing shared vec of expression. Okay, this is the wrong type. Okay, this is actually better. Oh, good. This is great. Okay. The object. No, object equals to y. Why it can't? So there's some not matching types here because Yes, because this is actually dot object. And then when I recreate this, I need to get index of object.lock. Okay, so I just need, this should be fine. I just need a way to compare bool operator equals. Let's compare this to so let's go to like using pointer. So one way is to compare this to a const pointer. Turn other equals object. This is a const method, and for comparison, for completeness, I would also add this. Turn not equal, not operator equals other. And I would do the same thing with a t star. Okay. We'll compare this, not equals, okay. And I think that, yeah, let's see if this is better. Oh, I might need an operator, assignment operator here or something. Okay, so now this fails uncreated. Is it true? Create vec owner. Yeah, the pointer and the container. I'm gonna take about 1 minute break. I'll be back shortly. Meanwhile, I'm gonna change the music here for another style just because I'm going to try one of these random AI generated styles. I'm going to pick future pop. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. I'll be back shortly. I am back. How bad was the music? Okay, so there's a comment here. Oop, let me put it on the screen. I'm just going to change the music style again. Okay. So the comment is, you're making me want to learn C, C++, but I'm not sure about it. You should be learning C++. C++ is awesome. C++ is the best language. Some people hate it, and some people are scared of it, but I think it's the best. It's the best because, like, and you can see it here, like I love the idea that you can design interfaces with amazing power, but also amazing expressivity. Like, you can really be creative in how you want call sites of your program to be, and this is actually way more limited in most other languages. Even languages like Rust, I think, because they kind of went with a very, let's call it, safe programming model, things like, stateful objects and object-oriented that I think can really help your user do not exist in the language. And there's always this I don't know, there's always something in the language is going to limit you from creating something super nice and expressive, and C++ lets you do that and still have all the different performance things also. Like, you can build these really nice higher level concepts that would still perform super well, and Rust and Zig and all these other languages I think do not let you do that in such a nice way, even though they do have other advantages. So I think it's a really nice language to learn, and it's, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot to be learned from the modern approach to C++. It's definitely such a fun world to program in, but it doesn't come without problems. It doesn't come without the fact that you have to learn a lot, right? You have to be very kind of dedicated to learn this. It's different than starting out with something like Python, JavaScript, whatever, where you're kind of protected from the world of low-level problems. You're not exposed to them, so you can work in a higher level, which is sometimes what you want to do. Like, if you write, something that's does not require these constraints. Okay, I got my chai latte. It's very good. Okay, let's see if we can. I have a Discord with a friend of mine who shall remain nameless for the sake of this conversation. So I have a Discord conversation with a friend of mine who also has a company, and they had this programmer they hired who did like basically every mistake you can imagine and did everything in a super complicated way for no reason. And so every once in a while he will send me messages on Discord telling me, hey, that guy did this. It's so funny to be kind of observing this comedy of errors develop with how that programmer did, and it's very funny. I can see the benefit of learning all the low-level stuff, but I'm also worried I won't be using it enough to justify the effort. Okay, I think this is a great question. But by the way, this is something I have this question, this thought every day about some other tech, like that, not about C++ in general, but about languages. Like, there's so many things that I want to learn because I think they will be useful. But I also say, well, do I really need to spend the time to learn this? Like, I really want to know Python because there's a lot of things that, like, I read a lot of scripts already, and I write them in either C++ or JavaScript. That's really the two languages that I write these things in. And most of the time I look at these things, I'm like, oh, this would have been so much easier in Python because there's this library, this library, this library. Like there's so many better ways to do what I'm doing in my scripts in Python. But I'm just too lazy to, because I always have this like constraint where I say, if I'm going to start learn Python, it's going to take me a little while until I am actually proficient. And there's going to be this period of time where I have to learn, but I'm not good enough to actually use it better than what I can do with C++ or JavaScript. So that kind of stops me from learning it. And it's, I feel really bad because I would want to have that knowledge. Right, I think other people have that where you want that knowledge. I wish I had that. I wish I could just, and spending a bit of time to learn JavaScript was very useful. Like I'm so happy that I had the same thought with JavaScript for a while. And then I was like, okay, come on, I gotta learn how this thing works, and I learned how it works. I'm not an expert, but I can, for backend JavaScript stuff, I can, do what I need to do. Which wasn't the case early on, right? So I like that I spend the time. I think now I have this with a few languages. Like I would like to learn more Rust, and I would like to learn more Python. These are probably the two main ones that I feel like would be useful in my day-to-day stuff. 'Cause Rust is getting interesting because a lot of good libraries are starting to emerge in Rust, especially in backend, like web backend development. So I think some of it's getting to this maturity stage where sometimes I would love to be just using their libraries instead of the C++ libraries. But I don't know how to do that, right? Or not good enough. So it's, so I feel like it's, I don't know. At some point I would want to spend it, but also, I'm trying to get products out and get work done. The comment is, from my point of view, if you already mastered C++, it's much easier to get into Python than the other way. You know what? That's interesting. I don't know. I started programming with C++, so I can't say how the feeling is, doing the opposite way. I do think every language has, like, the gotchas that you have to learn. Like, the syntax is kind of weird, and like semantics is not what you expect. I feel like every language has this barrier. And also I feel like there's the thing about learning the tooling, like you're using JavaScript, you have to learn npm or yarn, or like you have to learn the associated ecosystem. How do you debug something? Like if you do web, how do you debug the web page? How do you debug problems with the build system? I think that this is sometimes even more important than the language. And I think in C++ you would have that as well. Like, I want to use a library. How do I make that library build? It's sometimes even more interesting than the actual code, right? You're like, or more challenging, than the actual code. You're like, oh, I just want to use the library. Why can't I use it? Oh, because you have to connect the build system. You have to do this with the CMake file. You have to add this thing to the compiler. Like, there's all this meta process stuff that is challenging in C++, and it's also challenging in Rust. Like Rust, you have to learn how cargo works, or in Python, you have to learn how pip works, and etc. Okay, I gotta finish this thing. Come on, I gotta finish this thing. I thought I was being smart, and maybe I just overcomplicated things by now. Let's see. Because I thought the last error I got was that I had these errors about not matching the start. What I'm writing is kind of a very much of a smartest thing. No member name object in owner. Maybe because it's object. There's something, right? I need to be more consistent with my naming. This is a problem about templates. They're very kind of abstract sometimes about what it is you're calling. What is that? Yes, I am the one who decided to write the code. That's true. I'm not complaining. I'm very much enjoying this social experience. It says that created, and fac. Okay, so that means probably create pointer ID. I am passing the why do I even need to do that? Can I just assume the type of container? That's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't think I should do that. I think I should just be able to do this, by the way. It should assume the type of container because it's get passed in here. But the problem is still that I'm trying to call right map is my container, blah blah blah, vector of expression, that's fine. Oh, okay, this gets better. Oh, I need to serialize it. Okay, that's nice. That is nice. Yeah, so I need to add a serialize function for this pointer ID. For the owner, sorry, for the owner. And it should just be something like a serialize object with the object ref. Okay, this is better. This one. Where's my actual error? Cannot initialize a member. Subobject of type underlying expression blah with an L value of type container const. Okay, I like this error. Vector of owner of owner. That doesn't sound right. Vector of owner of owner. Why is that happening? Okay, vector of owner expression. I don't think that's true. Maybe I added something wrong here. Let's go back. Vector of this owner of t, and this vector of owner of t. How did I get to a vector of owner of t? How did that happen? Shared vec, which is a vector of owner of t, right? Expression. That's fine. How did I get to a shared vector of owner? How did that recursive statement even happen? Vector of owner of blah 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 blah. Right? Vector of owner of this with an L value of here. So somewhere I guess I passed like the container type I passed. It's almost like I thought it was the wrong type. Yeah, why did it think that the container so weird. Why would it think the container is a member of type? Yeah, the member is the correct type. Vector of owner of expression. But when I try to initialize it, okay, for some reason in the owner held something that's weird. Shared vec of owner. Okay. What am I not realizing here? Shared vector. When am I creating this extra layer of templating? When am I doing that? Owner of T, shared vector of owner of T. Owner holds a pointer and a container. The container looks like it's a vector of, whoops. What could this be? Oh, wait. Shared vector of T. Okay. This is now shared vector of T. Okay, here you go. So that's why I created shared vector of owner of T. There's an owner that gets injected there twice in the expression. Okay, this is better. Now it couldn't do the object. No machine constructor for weak pointer of literal int. And it couldn't do it because... Oh, I see what happens now. Yeah, I see what the problem is. This thing... Yeah, I can't do it like this. No. No. So I'll have to use the other... Yeah, you know what? This is interesting. Because this needs to be an owner of the base class. Again, I can initialize a weak pointer for the derived class with an object of the base class. Right? Yeah, I don't know if I can do this, right? How can I do this? Because if you're asking me for a pointer ID, like a typed one, but you know what? I should be able to cast it, right? I can just cast. Yeah, I can. Yeah, because I think, okay, so I think the problem is I would need to cast this into a derived class pointer. So I don't think this is going to work with an A. I think if it's an A, I need to cast it to a T, kind of check this. So what I'll probably do is that if you want a pointer ID of the type, yeah, because this is basically just an owner of T. This is what it should be. But this is a derived class pointer. So I would need to, when I create this thing, create pointer ID. Can I? Here, let's have a Gemini, an AI question. Let's see if it can answer it correctly. I want us to do something in C++. what's the best way to cast, let's go to dynamic cast a std shared pointer of type base to a std shared pointer of type derived. See if it's gonna just know how to do that. Here's the dynamic cast. So std dynamic pointer cast. I've never heard of this. I am going to look at this right now. So what's dynamic pointer cast? Oh, I don't need this entire thing here. I just need dynamic pointer cast. Okay, so I guess it's a thing, dynamic pointer cast. So it's that should be like the, I guess, the way for this. So what I would do is when I create this with create pointer ID, I would do this as a, I probably should separate this from two different functions. So this should be return owner. So I need something like std o2, let's call it cast equals dynamic. Probably to check somewhere if it does exist, right? Yeah, I guess that's fine. Otherwise, it's going to be null. Okay, that's. I think I should. I'm supporting a null pointer ID if I remember correctly. So yeah, so it should be something like dynamic cast to a. Can I dynamic cast the owner of t? Probably, yeah. So let's add it as a function to the owner. So the owner itself, owner. Blah, 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 where are you? Owner can have something called templates. Sorry, this should be an owner of type a, and get as, right? So this would be this would be, think about this. This should be something that creates, let's see if I'm correct about this. Let's call it cast2 to be fun. Cast2, and then if o2 cast equals std dynamic pointer cast of what's the syntax for this? This is what I need, right? What's the use of this? Std dynamic pointer cast. Yeah, so this is a regular pointer cast, right? Derived base PTR. Okay, good. So going into A from the object, then return can I yeah, return cast container, and L, and if not, just return a null pointer. So this should be the cast2, and then can this be const? Maybe it can be const. Let's see. And then I can go here. Sorry, go just right here to the bottom where it's used, and then say turn on. Well, this would be with an owner.cast2 t. Is this correct? Okay, template. Let's see if that works. And then I should probably now create a helper function that helps this kind of get generated. But option constructor for owner of plural. Okay. What's the type that this returns? Yeah, shared pointer of t. That's fine. That's what I need, right? Dynamic pointer cast. What am I missing? Dynamic pointer cast of t. What am I missing? This is not. Let's try. I need a new C++ project. I want to make sure that I know how to use C++, especially in this heavily templated context. Keep thinking maybe I should just build. I should have just built this thing as not as a template and later templatize it once I know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's do memory. I think the idea is that extract base, virtual base default, and then some struct derived. So I think the idea was that I have something like std shared pointer of base equals b equals std make shared of derived, but then I have to do something like if std pointer cast dynamic pointer cast. So if I'll do d equals pointer cast to derived of b, then d, yeah, this is a right, d or d, right? I should have this. D should be shared pointer of derived. I thought that's what I thought. So let's go back to my real code. What's the problem? Because owner of A should be able to be constructed from a std shared PTR of something, right? Maybe the problem is that it's const. Maybe I can. Maybe this is the issue here. Do I get something to eat now? I don't know. What do you think? Should I get food? What do you think I should be eating? Do I get Mexican food? And then want to die for 2 hours? No matching constructor. Not sure why. Flirting with the idea to get food. What do you think? Should I get food? Chicken burrito. Oh my. I would love to get a chicken burrito now. But I can get a chicken burrito. Nothing stops me from getting a chicken burrito. Nothing would stop me. spend so much of the day just thinking of which food I should get or make or whatever. So difficult. Just the decision. I'll be back momentarily in about 1 to 2 minutes. Right, I'm back. Trying to solve this problem. I think if I did not overcomplicate myself with this idea to provide own a pointer ID like this. Because really what I needed was a way for that if you iterate over these owners, then you can just grab the pointer, right? Which becomes more complicated because these owner-pointer relationships have the container passed to them. Kind of makes it a very weird data structure to use, or awkward to use, I'm going to say. So let's see what I screw up with here with the syntax. Pointer ID. Okay. No matching constructor for. This is going to tell me which constructor was trying to be. Owner. Okay, the owner tried to be constructed. Oops, I kicked my desk. Let's see, owner, cast 2. So why couldn't it create the owner? Right? Why wouldn't this work? Let's try manually to. I have something called a ref counter test. I have some console app that I'm using for these tests. Let's try to have a very simple use of this. So let me go to my prototypes apps. Ref counter test. Okay, here you go. I can just remove all this. Most of this crap, right? Yeah, I can just remove everything from here. And I just want to create it's called serializing owner of int, right? The idea is that for now, this gets initialized with so that is first I create an int here, O2 y equals to make shared of int, and I also need to have a serializing shared vec of int vec, and that is that this gets initialized with y and then vec, right? Something like that. Let's see if this is going to compile or the problem is somewhere else. Okay, so this compiled. This is the problem is not here. The problem is when I'm doing serializing create pointer ID of type int with y and vec. Not with. Is that true? Oh, I think I don't even need to. I think I need to have vec. It's vec. Right? This is really the point. Or maybe the problem is just when I have a base class. How's everyone doing, by the way? I see a lot of people joining the stream recently on a few different places. Like I keep saying, I'm broadcasting this on Twitch, X, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So feel free to comment or let me know what's up, and I can pass this on to the rest of the stream. I'm working on a music algorithmic music composition software. But technically, now I'm just solving some annoying data structure problem from this weird data structure that I have created. So let's see, logic structure. Okay, good. So the fact that it fails with the int makes me feel happy because this should be easier to solve, right? So let's manually take this create pointer ID function, and I'm just going to write it as a non-template. Yeah, so I'm just going to write this function and not write a template. Right, so I can just do something like just remove all this, and I'm just going to do int. It's going to be serializing pointer ID of int and shared vec of int. Let's write everything here in the let's just do something like using namespace serializing. This will make it easier. So yes, so int, and then create with the vec of int. This is not needed. Shared of int. And I should be able to do cast to int without templates, right? And now we should discover, hopefully, what has caused this to create pointer ID vec. Let's see exactly what's not compiling here, or maybe the problem is just when I'm doing. Here it is. Okay, that's very good. Owner cast to. Okay, so the problem is I couldn't. I'm sure I'm not seeing the error right here in the IDE, but you know what? I'm going to switch to the other language engine. Maybe this will help me do that because, like Elanda said in the previous stream, this engine is much faster but has bugs. So I am going to restart my IDE for a second. It's going to reload, and it's going to probably make my fans blow up because this old language engine is much slower, but hopefully it will give me some information about this error. Oh, it already found something. Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. Now I see the error. Let us finish indexing for a second. And let's see where we are. Okay, this is good. No mention constructor. So why can't I do, because what's an owner here? An owner is an owner of int, right? Cast to an int. How am I gonna do this? Let's see. If I would just do something like an owner o2y equals to make shared of int 5, some value in it or whatever, and I need to do an owner of int with y vec. Right, this should work, and I should also be able to do cast to int, right, for the same type. So let's use that or something. Will this compile without this? Oh, sorry, without this. It will not compile. Okay, cast to. So the cast to itself function is problematic. I want to create an owner of A to dynamic cast the object. Let's manually write this. Let's manually write this code without the templates. I think that might help me find out my syntax error. So basically I need a function that says something like owner int cast. I'll write my own cast that will take an owner int const owner other or something. And it should be something like int other object. Okay, so this is the problem. Oh, this is more because it's an int. So it says you can dynamic cast an int. Okay, so I think that's the problem because I just can't do this. But let's imagine it was something else. Let's imagine that this was a base class. Virtual. Wait. Okay. Wait. I think I know. Wow, I'm out of it today. This is a pointer. Yes, this has to be like this. Ah, come on. This is so stupid. Okay, let's go back to my project again. One of these brain farts is just what happened the last like 15 minutes. Okay. Still not good. Okay, let's go back to the test. Slowly but surely I will find out why this did not compile. Oh, so this doesn't work as well. That's interesting. Why couldn't it get... Okay, so this is, I guess, the more fundamental problem here. It's hard to even spawn this object. So I think this should take a shared pointer of t. All right. Maybe the problem is that it's const? No, right? It shouldn't be a problem. It's a const reference. I see the two arguments here. Owner, shared pointer of whatever. Maybe the container is wrong. Container is, oh, it's not int. The container is wrong. Okay, this is fine. And then cast with x and back. Okay. Okay, so this now works. This is okay. Now I should try to cast it from a base class to a derived class. So I want to get a derived class. Let's have a struct derived, inherits from base, just so that this will be a thing. And then, so I should cast it into the derived class, right? Owner of base, okay. Okay, now I get it. I can't really mix and match it. It's again the container problem. This would have been another type of container. Damn it. I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I can initialize an owner, another type of owner. I don't think that can happen. I don't think I can do a cast of the owner. Okay, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. No, I cannot cast this. This I cannot do a cast to. Instead, I need a way to create the let's call it the what I call a pointer ID. That thing should be cast to a derived class, I believe. I cannot, because this causes so much problems because of the idea that the container, oh, it's so complicated, because the container is known to this owner and to this thing. That made it really difficult to program, I think. Okay, so now instead of doing this, let's not have an owner, let's have a pointer ID of derived. Like that's basically the, the weak pointer, weak pointer version of this. And it's also a derived of a shared vec of base, which is the container in this case. Right? I was so annoying that this has to be written like this. I wish I would. I need to find a better way to kind of make this, not make this a template argument, because this, it makes all the call sites so dirty, basically. Yeah, and now I don't want to cast the owner. I just want to create this from like the owner is of type base, right? So I need, yeah, I probably just need to break this down into, and I think I'm already doing that, right? Maybe I'm already, I think what if I pass this owner and this container? Can I do this? I'm taking this owner. Let's say, okay, so let's say I'm passing the owner, and let's just do something that does this. Because the owner knows about its container. That part is fine. Okay, so maybe I can do something that takes, instead of, yeah, it's not an, okay, so this should be something like type name T, type name A or whatever, and this should be an owner, any kind of owner, and it would try to initialize them. Maybe this is what I need in terms of the constructor, and then just initialize this with this. right? Without basically passing the container explicitly. That's really what I wanted to do. Weak pointer of derived. Yeah, the derived can be cast from the base. It needs to be cast right there. Okay, so that can be done. So instead of doing this, this should be using a pointer cast. Stood pointer cast, dynamic pointer cast of t of the owner object. Is that better? Yes, this looks better. So that means I should be able to just do, O2p equals castx. That's really what it's meant for. And if this works, I think my actual app also should work with this this idea. Yeah, and that means that I can create. There it is. So I don't even need this cast function. I think the idea is that I should be able to do to literally just create. Yeah, like this does nothing now. This function does not do anything. It's just like a pass through to the constructor. It's not true. So in my real code, let's go back to the real code. I should change this function called. There's a function I'm using called make pointer ID, and this should just pass the owner. Sure, that means that the pointer ID would do a dynamic cast or whatever, but I think it's fine for this use case at least. Okay, this was just failed because it's built with the previous call site. And then I can also create a owner. Yeah, create owner. That's fine. Sure, an expression point. Okay, this is not it. Now I can just do element, right? This would be better because now I can just pass in whenever I need. Whenever I need, I can just. I can don't even need to write this. I can just do this. Just return something that's created from elements. I think this is okay, and probably have a few other use cases like this. Yeah, here's the thing. Just create with the expression. Wow, this makes a lot of code that uses this much simpler because you can create a pointer in the from the owner. I think this is good. Let's see what else. Okay, now I have the problem. Now my UI part doesn't compile because now I should just be. This is why I did this. I should be able to just do this, right? Oh, sorry, not this is. So instead of doing this, by the way, now that I learned this thing, I can just do expression. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, this is going to be fun. I can oh yeah, so I can just press the raw expression, right? Yes, here you go. So this would now I don't even need to store this thing, right? There's a double dynamic cast that happens. I probably can write a helper function that's like get pointer ID, just like I did with that will do this casting object. But anyway, this is the general idea, and I think this compiles, which is good. And oh, this works. Look at this. I can create more function objects, which is really why I did this. Right there, I have more functions. It's super ugly, right? Because the layout is currently just not what it should be. But hey, this is what I wanted. Great. So I have double commit here because the library, in the library I implemented, pointer ID, added an owner ID object that can be easily used, or an owner object that can easily be used to spawn pointer ID objects. So that's the library change that I've done. And on the UI side, I did blank UI, added a multi-function initial layout, I guess. Okay. How's everyone doing? Streaming for about 3 hours now. It's a lot of fun. I'm working on this algorithmic composition tool. It will be it's a very, very interesting project that we're working on for Modalics. Yeah, how are you all doing? Let me know in the chat. I might take a break in a few minutes and come back for a stream. Come back to stream a bit later. Does anyone have questions about this thing that I've done so far? Right. All right, this might be a good time to take a little break. And I would come back, we'll see, maybe in an hour or so to continue this. So thank you all. Hopefully you're having a good time.